Hi everyone, my name is Sean of Thorpe, and I am representing Silix Esports, here to give you another lesson today. This one regarding about different ways to practice the game, ways to more efficiently practice in your off time. I think this is a problem that a lot of players actually have where they play a lot of games, but they don't see a lot of improvement. If you actively try to improve over the course of a period of time, I think you'll see that your results will get better and better. Whereas a lot of people just play the game and that's it. They don't have a really kind of well thought out plan for moving forward as far as training goes. So today we're going to break up into 4 different spots. We've got our inspiration phase. This is where we're going to look at how do you get inspired about the game? You know, what kind of combos do you want to do? What characters do you want to play? How do you want to play the game? Next we're going to look at getting into the lab, what we can do solo practice by ourselves in our own room, home, space, without anyone else around. You know, what can we do individually to practice? And this is going to be finding a lot of that tech skill that we talked about earlier. A lot of that finer movement is going to come in this phase here, where we can practice kind of dashing, running, pivot grabbing, all those kind of like finer movement techniques that are going to make you a lot better in the long run. Our next phase is looking at CPU practice. It isn't useless to practice against CPUs, it's just different. So where a player that you would play would normally adapt and improve and change, a CPU won't. There's ways you can obviously cheese it. You're not going to get much out of that. For Ness in particular, it's PK Thunder 1. You can just kind of keep hitting them with it and they'll keep air dodging and you'll keep hitting them. All right, that's not what we're really looking to do. If we can win against the CPU, that's all well and good. But we're looking at improving our game. And so things we can do against the CPU are more like practicing combos and finding out if they're frame perfect or not. Because if you play against a level 9 CPU, they will air dodge out as soon as the combo is not true. So it's good to see kind of like what combos we can get against a AI that is created to get out of those situations. How true is it? Do we have to make small alterations to combo to make it more true? What is your opponent's defensive abilities? Because yeah, the CPU on level 9 will figure it out. If you do overuse those options a little bit too much. And lastly, player practice, which I think is the most important. It's taking everything that we've learnt, our inspiration, we've come up with a plan, how we want to face a matchup or a couple of combos we want to move into our game. We've labbed that out, so we know that we can do the inputs when we need to do the inputs. We've practiced against the CPU to see what kind of situations work quite well. And lastly, we're practicing it against a real human that's going to adapt, they're going to change, they're not going to get hit by it as often. But we want to see kind of what we can do in that kind of game-like tournament style format against a live opponent. So that's generally how this lesson is going to play out today. And hopefully by the end of it, we have a really good example from start to finish of how that practice looks. Okay, for our first section, we're going to be looking at our inspiration phase. So this is really how we want to play the game. We generally find this from looking at top players or just generally content creators that use the character you want to use. Maybe you don't know what character you want to use yet and you watch a Mr. Danish Butter Cookies or something where he plays a whole bunch of different characters and you go, "Ooh, that one looks cool, I want to play that." If you do have a character in mind, you can look up character focused videos that specifically dial into the fundamentals of the character. You can look at some more mid to high level play towards the end as well to understand how that character should look in a competitive format. So if I know my buttons already and I understand how the character works, I can look at something like a Nakat or a Gact, which we'll be looking at a little bit later, and kind of go, okay, in what situations do they get, what combos? I can watch a whole bunch of tournament play and just find really key moments. Say it's a 0 to death or it's a big turnaround, how did they do that? And try and emulate that when it comes to our later play. As I mentioned earlier, combo videos are still very good to look at as well. It's really cool to lab out some more character specific, and I mean real specific. We're looking at frame perfect moves, we're looking at jab resets, things we can kind of bring into our game as a bit of a wild card that people aren't looking for. Because when it comes down to, you're on a stage, there's so many people watching you, it's game 5, it's last stock. Sometimes these are the difference makers that we can pull something out of our pocket that we haven't used yet, really take our opponent off guard and end up securing the win that way. So what we're going to look at the moment is a bunch of videos that actually helped me when I was learning how to play. So that means we're going to go all the way back to Smash 4. So this video here is the first video I ever watched for Super Smash Bros. Nakat was the first Ness main that I watched. And thankfully through playing in the scene, I ended up getting to meet Nakat a couple of years later. But this video is just really basic. It was just, you know, what are the buttons? What do they look like? How does it work? So if we have a look, there's a cute little young Nakat's voice there. We're going to skip through. We can look at, yeah, here he's going through the moves. So introduces up air, introduces some of the uses for it. Pretty basic stuff. Yeah, watching that you can get some follow-ups from it and stuff as well, which is really cool. Just a really good, 30 minutes of this is how the character works, which is what I needed right at the start. I didn't understand the game. I didn't play Smash Bros myself personally. And this gave me all the fundamentals I needed to know to get started. I went to my first couple of tournaments. I got, I think, went 0-2 the first 3 weeks in a row. And then from that point on, it was top 5 pretty much every week because no one else was practicing, no one else was learning. And I was developing all these techniques as I was going. So improved out of sight really quickly over the people that weren't kind of having this dedicated practice. So if we want to look anything past that, my next main person that I was watching was Foe. So Foe is another player from America, another Ness main, where Nakat played a really good fundamental kind of Ness, knew his stuff, was consistent, got it. Foe was a bit more explosive. He was crazy combos, crazy pop-offs, and it was this faster style that I really wanted to emulate with my play. It was the next level for me, going from a fundamentally strong player to someone that's a little flashier and kind of can do more things. So just gonna watch this clip here. He's playing in his local area against Aztekiz. And it's about here where we're going to see the PK Thunder. Just pulls it out of absolutely nowhere. Here it is, and bang. So that little clip there was actually really interesting. So this is something I tried to incorporate into my games a little bit more. As you can see, we're just going to get to the point of Thunder. So where Ness is located as compared to Pikachu at the moment, it turns out that that's actually somewhat guaranteed because the tail's going to hit while the head's invulnerable to stun lock Pikachu basically in that spot. And if you loop it around instantly, you're going to get that PK Thunder too, and it's a death at 49%. It's super early. This is a really interesting thing, and this is what's going to be our focus. This is going to be our inspiration for the day. This is our skill that we're going to work on over the 4 steps, but we're seeing it here for the first time in the inspiration stage. I go, hey, I want to do that thing. Okay, let's figure out how it works. Okay, as we see the clip continue, bang, easy kill, happy as anything. Our last clip we're going to look at is Gact, who is another Ness main. So we can see that, I've obviously picked all the Ness mains. Our search is very focused. We find the top Ness mains and we just keep watching their content until we find something that stands out at us. That PK Thunder 2 little loop is going to be our, I suppose, thing that we look for at the moment. We're going to see here, this is the newest clip. This is 9 months ago. This is a Japanese Ness main called Gact. I'm going to see him as he pulls him to the other side in a functionally really hard matchup. Ness hates swords. This is really tough for Ness. There you go. Goes to the PK Thunder 2 and hits this crazy angle for the first stock of the game. You can see this is like 2 years after the original clip. The original clip was just there on top of me and I'm going to spin around and hit it. This clip was just the most insane angle to kind of blast yourself back onto the stage. So this is the same technique, but it's a new application. It's a different way of looking at it. So that is something that we're going to kind of incorporate into our next phase as well. Yeah, so to summarize this stage, essentially you'd be looking at finding out who plays the character that you like, and then looking at their videos, not only for the immediate tutorial of what the buttons do and what situations they're good in, but then on a further level than that, looking at their gameplay and just seeing the little tricky 1% options that the top players do mix in there, and try and identify them so that you can practice them and then bring them into your own game. Some things that we didn't really talk about during this section was Foe and Gact especially, their movement is absolutely nuts. So they're just very pristine in the way that they move around the stage. Another example of this, which is a massive one, is Amsa from Melee. Amsa's movement is on a completely different level to anyone else in Melee, and that's why Amsa's at the top at the moment. No one can keep up with him, no one knows where he's going, and he lands all these big hits. So when I watched Foe and I saw Nakat, the difference that I saw, and this is over a time gap as well, is that Foe was just a little bit quicker and a little bit crisper, and it created more opportunities. So that was something that I brought into my strategy as well, was learning to be a little bit quicker. Lastly, we can look at matchups as well. So when we go to a tournament and we play against someone, and say it's a Ness versus a big sword, say the Sephiroth or something like that, and we just go, man, that felt horrible. That felt like I couldn't do anything in that matchup. You can guarantee that matchup's played somewhere else between two different people, and the Ness has won in that situation in some way. It's maybe not, Ness favored by any means, but there's a Ness out there that's won that matchup. So we're gonna go try and look on YouTube, find that Ness, and try and incorporate what they're doing in that matchup, so that when we come back next week and we got to play the same guy in the same matchup, we've improved a little bit and we can kind of create a few more opportunities, maybe take the W. It's slow incremental improvement, but it really does make the difference, especially in your local scene when you get to play against the same people every week. You get to learn their habits, you get to prepare for them and come back the next week and try again. So while I'm saying that this is all great to take to the lab, which we will do in a moment, and look at individual skills or combos, it's also good for long-term strategy over a matchup, which is so crucial in this game with 80 plus matchups. You're going to find it really frustrating going to a tournament and everyone's going to be like, oh, well, here's this Pac-Man that you never played before, and they'll beat you and you won't know what to do. Great, go to YouTube, look it up, find someone that's played the matchup, find someone that's won, try and figure out what they've done differently to what you were doing. As we just mentioned, the rest of the skills we can take to the lab, so that's what we're going to do now, is move to our second stage, which is the lab. Okay, so this is our section 2. We're going to be taking it into the lab now. The lab is a term used by a lot of Smash Bros players and general FGC players as well, which means, self-practice or a place where you can do your own training. So we're going to take what we saw in our first section, being the inspiration phase, and we're going to basically test it now. We're going to try out, how does it work? When does it work? Why does it work? It's really important to understand that we start with how does it work. I want to know what inputs I need to do, in what situations it works, and how I'm actually going to be physically able to do it. Next thing we're going to look at is when does it work, and that's looking at does my player have to be on a higher percent? Do they have to be in a certain position for me to be able to do this? That's the kind of stuff that we're looking at, that we can kind of lab a few times in training mode. And lastly, why does it work? So in what situations does it work? Did I just get a back throw and throw them into the air? Did I just, hit them with an up air or an up tilt and then be able to do it from there? Did they jump? Did they burn their double jump? Do they have any defensive options? That's the stuff we're going to try and look at. So we're going to immediately go into our lab practice, which is games and more. And then we're going to go into training. We're going to choose the first stage here, which is the training facility, because it does have a nice big area. The camera zooms out quite well for us, and it's just a really easy map to practice on. We can practice more specific stuff on things like Battlefield or FD, where you're going to use them in tournament a little bit more, but for now we're going to just practice here. So we're going to set our control scheme firstly, which I hope, it's still there, beautiful, love to see it. And we're going to choose our character. The player that we're going to choose, we're actually going to choose our opponent. Now it's really important that we think about this, because there are big characters, small characters, regular size characters. If we lab something on a Bowser or a King K. Rool, is it going to work against a Sheik or a Pikachu? Probably not. So you see a lot of the, especially Twitter compilations or, YouTube combo videos, and sometimes they'll use big hefty characters because just everything's a combo. That's how the character's made. We're actually going to choose Marth. Marth is a pretty neutral character, human, so roughly the same size as a lot of the other human characters. Not super big, not super small, but really good to practice on. So things that we can immediately practice, for me personally, down throw, forward air, and we can fade back and hit a PK fire. That's something that we've learned. But when we've got the percent up, what we looked in the video and what we want to look at today is how we can get this PK Thunder that's going to hit them. So we can see if we're next to him at the moment, it's not going to be able to work unless we go the other way. So if we go up, and then use the stun to hit them from there. And they're dead. You can see here as well, we got different like stages. We can run all the way over here to the battlefield makeup, and it's got the measurements and stuff, but we're going to just keep on the final destination one at the moment. So we're going to get the damage up a little bit again. We can do it just by hitting them a few times, or we can actually set it in here for CPU damage. So let's go ahead and set that to 75 at the moment. This is the beauty of the training mode, is that you can actually just set your conditions so we can get it all the time. So if I go up air, there it is. That's what we want. All right, so that was up tilt, sorry, not up air. But we know now that at 75%, we can up tilt, jump, PK Thunder, and see how it didn't work that time? That was because they were too far away when we did it. So we're going to reset, bring it back, try again. So up tilt, jump. That didn't work, it wasn't guaranteed, but that's okay. We're just gonna kind of keep doing it until we get it to a consistent point where we're happy with it. So up tilt, no, didn't work there. Maybe 75 is too high. Maybe it'll be a little bit consistent at like 45. Let's try that. Okay, that looked like it would be a little bit more consistent. Just looked like a bit of skill diff there. But, oh, there we go. That's the crispy stuff. So in that situation there at 45%, our opponent doesn't really have a lot of opportunity here to kind of get out of it. They've got a double jump. If they double jump, we can adjust to try and chase them a little bit. We can try and hit them with a... Oh, if they... I've got to set the double jump first. So we can set CPU behavior. We can set it to jump. And we'll see how that goes. So, come over here. We can just move them to the middle a little bit so we can get them on camera. And then we're going to reset their health. So we're going to let them get up, and they're going to jump, and we're going to try and like up tilt them and then jump up B. Bang. Oh, didn't work. That's all right. Bang. Yeah, they didn't really jump out of it. Let's see what else we can set them to. Neutral, special, side smash, control. We can set them to control. This is a really interesting one. So if you have a second controller, you can actually pick up the other controller and use it. So you can practice against a friend that's over at the time, and you can consistently set their damage and make them create situations where it actually works for you if you've got someone else that can do that. But that's essentially the lab. You know, we've looked at it now. We've tried to create a couple of situations where we can get this combo. We're just gonna try one more. So if we get a grab, up throw, and that one doesn't really work too well because we throw them too far. So we want to be starting at like 45%, and we want to be using up tilt and not having them so close to us. A little bit of distance seems to be the work. So we've created this situation now where we understand how it works. We're going to try and take it into a CPU battle. Okay, so we're going to look at our third stage now. This is reasonably interchangeable with the lab. There's not a lot of stuff that you'll need to bring to the CPU kind of games, but it's just another way that you can do things, and so I wanted to bring it up and kind of show you a little bit of what it looks like. So we're going to choose a stage that's competitive to start with. There's no use practicing on a stage that's not competitive because you won't play in competition, obviously. And we're going to practice with our main here, and again, we're looking for a situation where we can get that PK Thunder. So we're going to try and level 3 CPU at the moment. Level CPU3Us aren't very good at all. They're going to move, they're going to do some stuff, but we're going to see if we can kind of land on level 3 CPU. So we looked at our situations, 45% and an up tilt is going to be like our starter. Okay, that's 40%, that's pretty good. Oh, and we've immediately got it. That's amazing. Admittedly, the CPU wasn't doing too much, but we love to see it work first try. Okay, so we've got our level 9 CPU here. We're actually going to choose a bit of an easier character for the sake of this kind of format that we're trying to do. We're going to go with DK. Big body, reasonably easy to hit, and doesn't have a lot of armor, so we're going to be able to hopefully get it. Mind you, CPUs are wacky and we're just going to get what we get. So we're really going to try and force this situation. We're going to get this percent up a little bit. 30%. We're going to let him come back. We don't want to finish him off just yet. 45% perfect. Okay. So we want to create a situation where we can get this up tilt. Oh, did not parry. So he's jumped out of it that time. We're trying not to hurt him too much because we want this to still work. So we're really trying to force it. Yeah, see, he's immediately jumping it out of it. So our level 9 computer can kind of see what we're up to here and is trying to get out of it. But we're going to try and create a new situation now where we can actually land it. Yeah, alright, mate. Calm down. Oh, he's minced us. So for that one, just try and cut out where he was jumping out of it. Don't put in the part where we died. Okay, we're really going to try and force this situation, get 45%, and then we're going to try and create new situations, because he got out of it last time. We're going to try and create a new way to land this. Because if it DK, he's going to jump out of it consistently. Oh, that was silly. So we forced the air dodge there, which is quite a good application, but it's not exactly what we're looking for. Okay, so that was a really interesting one there. What we saw was every time we popped him up in the air, if we double jumped to use the PK Thunder, he'd jump away. But if we didn't, and we just went for the PK Thunder, he'd air dodge, and then we'd be able to hit him on the back end anyway. So it's a really interesting situation for this particular technique that we're looking at, by getting them in the air and trying to hit them with that PK Thunder. The level 9 CPU will get out of it, but then they'll air dodge and they'll blow that option, and then we'll be able to hit them anyway. So when we're looking at transferring this over to a competitive format, it means that if we play against our opponent and they jump out of it, we do have the option for them to air dodge, and we can kind of chase them and hit them with the air dodge anyway, which gives us another opportunity now. So we didn't know that coming into this session with the CPU that's level 9, but you know, it was a good way to find out. So we've got two options now. We hit the up tilt, or we hit some sort of launching move, and then we chase them with the PK Thunder 2. If they double jump, air dodge out of it to try and get away, we can chase them and hit them anyway, because they can't really compete with our hitbox. And if they don't do that, we can try and trap them in there and hit them with that PK Thunder 2 the way we intended from the first place. So what we're going to do now is drop our CPU down to level 7. This is more of a natural kind of matchup that we're looking at now. So this level 7 CPU is going to play more like an actual human. And we're going to see if we can try and force a situation when we get the move that we want. Oh, we nearly got it right off the bat then. That's actually one of my favorite setups for it. That was meant to be a jab, was not. Is the double up air at low percents, and then hitting him with the PK Thunder 2, but they just jumped out of it. Oh, we did what we wanted there, but it just didn't work out. It was just a little bit of a skill issue there. We're going to really try and force it. Okay, he's in the air. Nah, he's too high percent now. So just trying to force it now. He's like far too high percent for anything to work here. So we're just gonna come in like that. Again, his CPU, I don't know why he didn't shield it, but yeah, generally people will shield it if you use it from that distance. It's not a very good move long range. It's just such a wind up. We're going to try one more time against the level 7 CPU. We're going to see if we can try and get this. I think it's going to be off the dash attack, up air, up air, up B. I think that's going to be our play. So we're going to fish for that. If we don't get it off the bat, we'll try one more time, but then we'll finish the round and we'll just try again. So we're looking for that early percent explosive PK Thunder. Okay, so he didn't jump there. We're going to go for our up tilt now. Yeah, we popped him a little bit too much there. That one wasn't very successful. We're just going to keep going until we get it right off the bat. Because again, this isn't about beating the CPU. This is about trying to create our situation and make it work. And back into it, level 7 CPU. So we want to hit up air, rising up air, up B. Oh, we nearly had it then. We did get the intangible. We just didn't get the remainder of it. That doesn't really count. Oh, we nearly had it, but he air dodged out and I slightly missed it. Yeah, we're not going to get it now, he's too high of a percent. So we're just going to finish this one off. Get into the next one. Gonna give it one more go. Again, this is the nature of labbing, is you're just gonna keep doing it until you get it. If you got it perfect every time, there wouldn't be any reason to do it. So we're gonna just try one more time. I like the dash attack as our starter. Yeah, see, yeah, dodged out of that one. Yeah, we just hit it wrong there. We're gonna actually try and do it point blank as well. We need a little bit of hit stun. Okay, he's got no air dodge now. Yeah, he fell down too quickly. So it's a good little Oki wake up as well there, where DK's got a neutral getter and I get to PK Thunder to him. So we didn't get it there, but you get the idea, is we're just trying to create that situation over and over again. So when we go to the lab, we look at how this works against an opponent that doesn't move or that moves in a way we want them to move. And then by playing against the CPU, we get to add in a little bit of randomness. So level 3, really easy to land. Level 9, really hard to land, but we get to learn more about the situation of how we set it up. And then level 7, great practice tool where we get to play against a CPU that's more human-like, and we have an opportunity of landing it if we get all of our ducks in a row and our situation's perfect and we hit the right tech skill. So that's generally how you'd be looking at using CPU for practice. Lastly, we're going to take it into the player phase, which is going to be really fun. So next up, we've got our player practice. Okay, now for our fourth section, we are joined here by my twin brother, Thorpe. How you going, mister?
Pretty good.
He's been my training partner since we first started playing at the start of Smash 4. We've played years and years and years together. We've played doubles, we've played everything you can go to. We've gone to majors. As of late, Mr. Thorpe has been a big adult man, gone to work instead of playing Smash Bros. But, you know, still a great training partner to have. Back when we used to play against each other a whole bunch, you know, we used to play competitive games against each other because neither of us wanted to lose, and would play for maybe, you know, 2, 3, 4 hours at a time, and it really helped us both get quite prominent in New South Wales. So, you know, this will kind of show you a little bit of the training that we've talked about when we take what we've seen in the first 3 stages and we apply it now to the 4th playing stage against a live opponent that has to adapt, has to learn, and we're going to see if we can land this move. Admittedly, this isn't going to be just straight head-to-head trying to win the game. We are going to try and force the situation a little bit, but in tournament you'd be trying to play as hard as you can while finding it. Oh, the shoes are off. Game mode initiated.
You know exactly what I was going for.
Oh, there it is! Not the situation we wanted, but you can see it there. The PK Thunder tail hits, keeps him there, and the PK Thunder 2 hits. That situation, though, is just an absolute scramble off stage, so it doesn't really count. We're going to try and land it one more time. Realistically, to film Mr. Thorpe NATO on here, what we're trying to do is we're trying to land either an up tilt or a dash attack to pop them up, land a double jump up air to take away their jump, and then trap them in that PK Thunder loop. It's a little bit of a tricky setup to do. It's something that's going to be really inconsistent, especially against Yoshi, who has really great aerial drift and movement.
And
so
air armor.
Yeah, and air armor. So it's really easy for Yoshi to get out of it. But we're still going to try and... Oh, we nearly got him then. So we had this set up there, he just double jumped out of it. He knows I'm going for it now. Oh, I tried to fast fall through with an up air. I was like, I could just drag you and try and get that up tilt again.
I don't think there's much different about knowing about it or not, because I'm a pretty cautious player as is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So what you'll find when you play in this style, as Nick was saying, he's a very cautious player. You're going to play against a whole bunch of different people in this matchup, and you're going to try and find different situations where it could work. So Mr. Thorpe Nader, could you change character to any other character? That's fine. Pick a character. But, you know, when you play against people that are local and you get experience, you're going to get experience against a whole bunch of different characters and a whole bunch of different situations. So Thorpe Nader is going to play Donkey Kong at the moment, and we're going to see if we can try and land on the Donkey Kong instead of the Yoshi. Where the Yoshi has that aerial movement, Donkey Kong's a little bit bigger, we might be in some luck. But again, you know, a very good player, so we're going to see what we can get. Yeah, so we got that jump out of it, which is really interesting because we actually when we practice against CPUs, we practiced against the DK. And that was actually the response to the level 9 DK as well over the level 3 DK. So another thing you'll learn about this game is that some characters are unfair and they're built in a way that is not a very fun way to play against. You know, so if someone plays DK, you know, they're probably still a good person, but just for that moment, they're not a good person. So, you know, they just... And you'll find that there's nothing you can do about it. DK is probably the best character in the game. I'm a little bit glad you're so far away from the microphone. It's like, it probably sounds normal. That was the chance.
I had armor though.
I don't know what happened. I had armor. So there, one thing we can see is every time we pop Thorpe into the air, he does use the double jump almost immediately, which makes it hard to track him. So what I was trying to use was the PK Thunder 1 to try and bring him back to the middle without that double jump, and then try and set up the situation from there. Again, it's a very difficult situation to set up, but we're playing this a bunch of different matchups over and over again, and if we get it, we get it. But we're really trying to improve ourselves by trying to force that situation. It's not just about, haha, I'm Ness, I got a back throw at 120 and I won the game. It's about trying to force that situation. Oh, the up tilt is gonna kill him there. Oh, there it is. Okay, we've set up the situation. So in that place there, Thorpe tried to snap the ledge. We hit him with the PK Thunder 1, which took his jump. All he had left was air dodge on stage or air dodge to the ledge. We set up the 50-50. We ended up finishing off with the PK Thunder 2, which was really good. So it was awesome after about like 8 games we could force the situation. That's pretty good actually, because when you try and do these unique kind of moves, it is hard to bring it into a game. But I hope that kind of shows there's a few situations there where we can force the situation, we can actually apply what we've learned in the lab, what we've learned from our YouTube videos, and use it to end up closing out a game. So hopefully that has given you a good understanding of kind of the process of taking it from YouTube, taking it to the lab, practicing it, and then getting it into a game situation and actually being able to apply it. So that is it from us today. Just to reiterate, the few of the steps that we've gone over was firstly start off with some inspiration. Use that inspiration to create your goal. Whether that's going to be increasing your movement over the practice session, looking for one certain thing, like we're looking for the PK Thunder 2 loop, or if it's just general forcing of the situation. Have that inspiration, watch it, see it, try and replicate it. A second stage is the lab stage, where we go individually by ourselves and try and learn the situation. It's really cool because we can have that controlled environment where we can get the player to jump, we can get them to move, we can get them to air dodge, and we can just practice in our own time. We don't have someone else sitting there waiting for us to kind of get it done. We get to have that individualized practice at the game. Our next stage is the CPU practice stage, which can kind of be drawn into the lab stage as well, where we get to practice against the CPU. The CPU just has a little bit more of a half step between the player and the lab stage, where the CPU we can set to level 3. We have a really easy kind of opponent. We can land our stuff that we want to land. A level 9 opponent where we can find out if it's true or if there's another situation where they can get out of it. If they get out of it, how can we adapt? Much like with the PK Thunder 2 loop, we could see that they were double jumping and using the air dodge, and so we could see that we could chase the air dodge and try and hit it on the back end of the air dodge. So that was an adaptation that came out of that level 9 play. Lastly, the level 7 CPU, which is more of a player-based experience. It's obviously better to play against players at that stage, but it's good just to kind of have a little bit of practice, especially if you don't have someone else to play against at that point. And then lastly, we've got our player practice stage, where we had Mr. Thorpe come in, give us a couple of games, and we got to play against someone that was adapting, changing, learning, and really just try to find a bunch of different ways we could force that situation, and we ended up getting the result of hitting the PK Thunder 2. Player practice is probably the most important when it comes to all this, because without applying it to an actual live person, you're not going to know if it's going to work in tournament or not. So very crucial there. A few tips just to leave you guys with is firstly, have a goal. We use that inspiration phase to come up with our goal, whether that's better movement, whether that's trying to force a certain combo string. We need to come in with that goal, because if we just play games, that's all we're doing. We're playing games. Sure, you're going to get a little bit better, but it's not going to be as directed as far as having a goal, practicing for that goal, and then, being able to apply that in a tournament setting. The second thing is, get tournament experience is the big one as well. So this is a process where you don't just start at the start and go, okay, I've got my inspiration. I have now practiced it in the lab. I have played against the CPU, and now I'm playing against real people. You don't get to that fourth stage and just stop. You actually go back to the start, and you go back to your inspiration, back to YouTube. So we take a skill, we learn it, we apply it, but we're not winning games yet. So we're going to go back to YouTube, and we're either going to lab out another combo, we're going to lab out another matchup, and we're going to learn from that, take it into the lab again, practice it, bring it into the tournament experience, refine it again. And then again, we're not going to be the best player in the world from there. We need to learn another combo or another matchup. There's something that's beating us at the local. So we go back, we look at YouTube, we find someone that's doing it right. We then apply that in the lab, apply it to our CPU practice, and finish it off with our tournament experience again. So this is a cycle that you'll kind of go through as a player quite often, and it's going to make you a better player than someone that just sits there and plays more games, bangs their head against the wall and doesn't do the prep to actually learn why they're losing. So I think that this video in a nutshell is quite indispensable as far as if you're a newer player coming into the scene. This is how you're going to leapfrog a whole bunch of people that are in the same skill bracket as you at the moment, where they're going to just keep playing games because the game's fun. You're going to improve and learn and understand the game in a deeper way, which means you're going to catch up to the top players in Australia a little bit faster. So hopefully that has been an enjoyable experience. Hopefully you've gotten something out of this video, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.